breathing deeply is not only to enhance the breathing capacity and benefit the health, if you want, which is one of the reasons, but it also gives you the right amount of activation through the body. So that when you take a deep in breath, that, and to the maximum that you can, that determines the amount of activation that you can produce in the upper body. In the limbs, the limit is a different thing, so it depends on how much active contraction you can put. And because we have certain control on the arms and also on the legs. But on the trunk, we don't have that one. So we use the breathing to understand how to do it. So touch your breathing very deep as the arms lift to shoulder height. And then breathe out slowly. And for the first few movements, my speed is about right. So you can move slightly slowly. So until you feel, when you breathe out, you aim to put the mind to sleep. And on that moment, you listen especially on the muscles on the trunk, releasing for as long as you can. So a deep in breath should allow you a long out breath. And then the closing down of the mind as if you're going to sleep, or like in a meditation, that it matches that process and actually tends to generate that process. So that you feel the releasing through the body for as long as you can. So then you feel the letting go, and then the body flowing to the ground for quite long. Until you get a good sense of the muscles on the whole body releasing, the body flowing down. You need to strongly connect into that sensation. Listening for the response on the muscle level, so how the muscles release. And then you add what's changing also on the joints. So you listen for the quad, the hip joint, the knee, and the foot as you go down into the ground. For the quad, you look for that change very gentle. Then the knee, how it bends. And then you manage the aligning by opening the quad, just reminding a few important things. And then you listen to the feet, the foot pressing into the ground. And you should try to make there's two refinements. One refinement is that the quad, try to open a bit more until you feel a certain stretch on the hip joint muscles. The knee keeps bending really smoothly, and that should produce that the pressure on the foot increases very smoothly, and it feels like the foot flattens on the ground. You could also focus on a very smooth transition from one leg to the other, which is something that all of you can work with. It's like you're pushing something towards the top of the mountain, and then you let it flow and fall down the other way. But very smoothly, not just freely falling. So it's pushed in a very smooth cliff this way, and then this way. Not on a corner mountain like this, and then it falls. But a very smooth mountain, like a rock. So something goes up, and then flows down the other way. So then you get a very smooth transition from one into the other. So the moment of change from one thing to the other is a delicate one. And that's something that you could look for. So how you transition from pushing from one leg So you're taking the strength of the leg and moving into the other one. That should be as smooth as possible. So, remember, the movement is something like this. So if I make something that is very, I cannot do it if I do it this way. I cannot do something unnatural, like lifting and then dropping into the ground. If I try to do it, it doesn't work. If for some reason I made a mistake, like my body tells me a mistake, then I will fall. But it's very difficult to do consciously. Consciously wrong and move faster. So sometimes you move faster with the idea to understand what is happening. Because then you know what we normally do is the mind moves up and down through the body. So that when you're passing the center, you refine the moment of change that is taking place on the shoulders. So at this moment about here, you're making a refinement on what's happening on the shoulders when you're passing the center. Because at that moment, there's no much taking place on the head. The center is kind of floating on the air, so then you can refine this one. But of course, so you put all the concentration on what's happening on the shoulder. 3 stages. The first one is for all the movement, you should lift the arm in a very gentle curve. Continue on and just listen. But then you can watch. So the arm lifts in a very gentle curve. It reaches shoulder height still in this gentle curve. And then you relax the shoulder to change the shape of the arm to this one. It's like a flapping wings that Patrick likes to say. And then the arm drops. So that's instead of the whole arm lifting and dropping, you make a smoother one by relaxing the shoulder and letting the elbow sink a fraction after. So you get this one. So the arm changes from this position, I'm exaggerating a little bit so you can see, to this one. And then drop. That's the first thing everybody can watch and see that is happening. So that gives you a more subtle control on the shoulder. And then you just make that process as early as possible. So normally we say when the arm is 2/3 of the way up, when the arm is about here, 2/3, then the shoulder go down, but the elbow keeps lifting. And then you get a change of shape, and then the whole arm keeps dropping. So that's on passing the center, that's the moment you can refine that one. And there's a third, so I'll do it again. So 2/3 of the way, then the shoulder goes down while the elbow keeps lifting, you get this change in shape, and then the arm continues dropping. If you speed up the whole movement, then you look for the maximum activation to be almost on the bottom, and it slowly fades away. So the top movement is the most relaxed, not the most active, and then you take it off. But it's just here, it's when the activation is maximum, and then it begins to disappear. That's actually the most pure way, but I need to do it right now. I'm just giving you the indications. Unless you have practiced for quite some time, that's going to be good. So, but don't let the arms stop on the top. Even if you're making the change, the movement should continue this way. And then the mind can move through the body to harmonize what you're doing. You listen on each part as it changes. So you begin from the foot into the knee, into the waist, through the trunk and especially on the shoulders, so you feel that change taking place, whatever level you're using. And then as you go down, you should also release and align the other part of the body. And then concentrate through the quad, the knee, and the foot pressing into the ground. There's different levels for that I'll explain on the second listening. But remember, as you're going down, you should also release and align the upper body. So you get a sense of releasing, but you get a long way of straightening the upper body. One thing that helps, once you've been releasing, is as the arms lift, you put the shoulders gently down as well. So that should strengthen the alignment of the upper body. So as you see, there's slightly two different levels. One, when you teach, let's say, a part of the body, not teach, but you refine the movement of one part of the body. That's one. And two, when that's incorporated slightly, then you move the mind through, and then it just gradually should have that effect, and you feel what is not exactly aligned with what you're looking for, and then you try to refine it very smoothly. But in the beginning, you need more specific concentration, which is a bit the idea of what we're doing on these seminars. Then on a more normal class, and you spread through different range of things. The mind moves as I was explaining this. Let's do the second. Breathe in again as deeply as you can to the count of 4 on the arms. And then down to the count of 4. And make sure you take a long deep breath. It's 4 times, so you should have a long time to do that. So a long deep breath. And then a long out breath. So if you feel like halfway you run out of air to breathe out, without controlling the breathing, of course, just by letting go out, then you need to adjust how you breathe in. So it's a sign of something that needs to be refined. The arms on the background should keep going the same way in any way you can manage. That's something you can always invest some time on refining. But for this exercise, remember, the first thing to change on the way up is that the hip joint opens. So if you just push the foot into the ground, the body will push this way. So the hip joint won't change. So on the way up, you should let the hip joint open. And then also let the lower back open. And you should try to sense those things happening. Those are the main things, so you want to feel it, of course. It's not so easy, especially what happens on the back. That's why we concentrate on it. So if you want on the way up, you align the lower body. Because there's not much happening on the legs. So you align this area, which is the lower body. When you push, you open the quad and the lower back. And then the body goes for a second. And then you make sure that you take off the tension of the quad. And then the legs begin to release, and the sacrum begins to drop, so that opens the lower back. While you release the whole body. So take off the strength of the upper body. And as you do it, as you know, if you just release, the body will lose on this. And will keep moving over. So you release, and at the same time you straighten the spine. And that is, when you first drop, that opens a bit more the lower back. And then you open this part. The upper part of the spine, or the chest if you want. The upper part of the back, sorry. And that allows you to open the neck this way. If the upper part of the spine is curved and you try to straighten the neck, it's almost impossible. So this part is the one that needs to be opened this way, and then you can straighten. So each time you go down, you try to refine how you align the spine. Basic things on the way up, the hip joint opens as you breathe in as much as you can. And then on the way down you release, and then the lower back, the chest, and the back of the neck should line. Just straighten very smoothly. So you try to refine the curves, soften the curves a little bit more than before each time. So get a better teaching the awareness. So you can use a better intention, more refined intention each time. Don't be content with any process that is taking place. And you could try sometimes against the wall if you want, to put a hole against the wall, the whole spine, and then slide up and down, and see what happens. And then you may get awareness here. So the whole spine should be able to touch. The neck normally, no, it doesn't touch where you want, but you should smooth it. That's the technical aspect if you want. And then depends on which level you want to train, you should do it this way. So you should use a strong intention through the body. And then you listen through the knees, the hip joint, the chest as it expands, and the top of the head. And then as you breathe out, let the body flow down a long way. And then you listen first through the face, the shoulders, the chest, the upper spine, the waist, through the legs into the knees and the foot. So you move steadily the mind up through, and then down through with the releasing and the gentle aligning. Of course, so on your way down, make the largest movement on the upper body that you can, while releasing and aligning. This is something we don't have much control. We have quite a lot of control, more or less, after depends on. But we need it for living this one. We need this one for living and so on. But we don't need this one as a conscious control for living. You know, as long as you're able to grasp things and so on, you don't need so much. So you look to getting a much more better awareness and then fine control of the one by making the largest change that you can on the upper body. And then you can move the mind ahead to train different aspects. So you can begin the same. You should try to, you can move the mind first into the knees and then let the body lift. And then you continue on the same way. The movement is exactly the same. But then you let the body float, and then the mind can go slightly down while you feel the muscles releasing, the center dropping, then you find the feet. And then as the upper body keeps sinking, and you keep sending the mind, so that it feels like the legs keep bending very gently. And that rotates the waist under. So it feels like the mind going into the ground, pulls the sacrum down, and makes the center up through the body, into the knees, and then the body responds. And then as the body flows, you send the mind down, and the sacrum drops. And then you keep going down. And then you reach the foot before the body is going down, and you aim to send the mind under the ground. So, as the mind goes under the ground, you should still be releasing and aligning the upper body. And then, it's just like the mind pulls the sacrum down and allow the waist to rotate so that the hip joints open so that should feel like that it flattens and increases the pressure into the ground. That's the intermediate step that we use to lengthen the sinking process. And the next, and that's what I wanted to emphasize for everyone. So you can do that also on the first loosening, where you're going down into the foot, into the leg, then you send the mind under the ground, while you keep releasing and aligning the upper body. So that's one thing that can be done. So you do that on the second loosening, and then you could go a bit beyond that by bringing the mind into the waist, and then let the body lift. And then as the body floats, you send the mind down into the waist as the center drops, and then towards the foot as the center connects there. And then you can slowly bring the mind into the waist, while the upper body keeps releasing and aligning. And then the dropping down, if you straighten the spine, then the dropping down will straighten. So the straightening and the flowing down will push the spine down and make the rotation is that all this area muscles connect along the neck into the skull. So when you release, then this part will, these muscles stretch, then will push So you drop the muscles, and that pulls. If the neck is straightened, then it pulls the spine down. If this area has been straightened, then it's pushed down. And if this area has been straightened, then it's pushed down. So that will produce the sacrum to rotate under. So it's the combining of the dropping. But if you just drop on the spine, it doesn't happen. So you have to drop and straighten. And then the flowing of the body presses the sacrum down. And then you combine this one with the rising pressure into this. So this is the level of the forces, and of course there's other levels a little bit beyond that. But that's good enough to refine how you release the blood. The only thing I will say related to this is that you should try to straighten the spinal fluid. It's like sitting in a high chair. You can do the third loosening this way. So if you let the lower back slide in and then you try to do the turning, it may not feel so bad from the side, but if I do it from the front this way, you'll see my hips are going to the corners this way. So you won't be able to turn around the spine if the spine is not straight. And the spine includes the pelvis. So if the base is not like well placed, you won't be able to turn around the spine. You can stay very straight. And then as you turn the waist ahead of the shoulders, then you can concentrate on what's happening on the spine. And remember, for this exercise, consider the turning of the waist this way, around the spine. And then the body will lift and sink very gently because of the position of the leg. Many people, but almost most of you, so there's too much intention to push the arm out. So your exercise is mostly looking like this. So the arm should be swinging this way. And the main intention should be to pull the arm back. That's the one main thing. The solution is on how you're using the mind. You're training from your brain. That's what happened. So the superficial mind is too involved, and then it sees the hands and tries to do something into it. It's a problem in general for every Taiji class, but it's a problem of the online training. Because the way to concentrate deeper inside, it's mostly learned by seeing and, let's say, sensing someone doing it. But I'm not sure that a camera or my voice can transmit that. So you have to be aware that that's what's happening. So the refining of the process is related to also refining of how you use the mind. So if you have much a deeper sense of how the waist is turning and what's changing around the spine. So make sure you don't concentrate on what the arms are doing. The arms being pulled is just the intention and how the forces reach the upper body. But you mostly want a bigger concentration on the big twist that is taking place on the spine. Remember, as you turn, if you do it correctly and with a gradually loosened body, then each vertebra, the muscles in between each vertebra, they get stretched one first. So when the vertebra turns, then it pulls the muscles that are connecting the vertebrae, and then the next vertebra turns, and then the next vertebra. Only shifting to the concentration onto the small joints. So mostly those are the ones on the spine. These are the big ones, a bit more subtle ones, but still big ones, and then the small ones on the spine. So you look for a deep concentration all along the spine to find out that twisting change that takes place. That should put the mind aside. in the beginning and for quite some time, it should be like you're trying to listen something that you with one feet. So begin this way, bend the legs, and then push the feet into the ground. Listen through the knees and the hip joints. When you feel the hip joints moving, you let the arms slide along and go slightly backwards. And on this stage, don't let the lower back on you. So the quad should change while the hands go back. Slightly back and towards shoulder high. When you're half the way, you can take off the strength of the legs and then begin to relax the shoulders. The elbow lift a bit more, and then the elbows begin to sink, and you get this position this way. So it's about height of the ears, and the arms are quite long. It's about the position of the loosenings of the other ones, but it's just height of the ear. And from here, the arms should sink, so the elbow should go 45 degrees this way by taking off the strength of the shoulders. So don't pull the hands in, don't drop the arms down. You should drop in this 45 degrees this way, as I'm doing it now. I'm doing it very slow, much slower. Until you grab the left hand with the right. And this should be on the base of the throat. And then you keep releasing towards the chest. And then down along the center line. When you're half the way, and then you bring the mind towards the waist. So that when the hands are passing the quad is also starting to move. That sets the timing of the lower body and the upper body. So then the activation reaches the shoulders, and you concentrate from the shoulders into the fingers, then down through the arms as you change them, and along the spine. So that's a releasing and aligning process. Don't get trapped by the movement of the hands that I just explained, because it needs to be refined. But the main concentration should be as it follows. From the foot, through the knee, into the waist, it should open. And the lower back should open. So don't let the lower back come in as the hands go back. Then about half the way, drop the center, and relax the shoulder, sink the elbows and lift the hands to the height of the ears, and then slowly sink down. Sink down towards the position of the hands. On top this way, so this is about the one span out and the height of the throat. And then you keep sinking, releasing this way. We'll do one more. Down along the center, from the feet into the waist, the quad and the lower back open. Breathing deep with the chest, and then drop the center, relax the shoulders, sink the elbow. And then slowly the whole body sinking, releasing and aligning this with no break. And then for the third one, push the feet into the ground, the quad opens, the chest expands, and then put one finger after the other like a flower. Then relax a little bit, so you take the strength off the legs, begin to release the line, shoulders go down, the elbows sink, and the palms turn. And then bend and forward. So try to keep the body straight as much as long as you can, until you cannot more. And then get some support on the knees from the elbows, and use that support to straighten the legs completely. And then loosen the arms so you got the weight smoothly, so the whole spine can straighten and the legs stay straight. And then make the largest movement that you can from the shoulders. Concentrate on the feet, push the feet into the ground, and listen up through the spine as you straighten. As if you're rolling against the wall, the head should be the last thing. And to the back and the top of the head. We'll do once more this one. Just quickly, I'll do it in this position. Just do it at the same time. So begin from the foot, into the knee, to the quad, the lower back open, or the hands into it. Towards shoulder high, half the way drop the legs, relax the shoulder. Sink the elbow, and slowly sinking down. Releasing and aligning through the spine. Gradually towards the feet now, back towards the waist. The quad opens, and the body waves. Don't let the lower back come in. Body activates. Half the arms up, relax the shoulder, so the whole body is dropping down. Up to height of the throat. float. Keep sinking very gently. Listen towards the feet. Push the feet into the ground. Let the qua open. Chest expands, the shoulders activate. Half the way, the center drops and the shoulders relax. The elbows sink. Height of the ears. And then slowly sinking down. Don't let the whole body stop. And then push the feet into the ground and the qua open, the chest expand. One finger after the other. Hands expand very gently. And then sink a little bit. And let the 3 fingers together. Bend the legs very smoothly. So the whole body is sinking down. As straight as you can, but don't force it. Make sure you get the knees, the elbows on the knees, and use that to straighten. That will allow the legs to straighten completely, and put the weight up the upper body. And then you make the largest movement from the shoulder blades in a circle, as I'm doing. You can watch the video later. And concentrate strongly in and around the shoulder blades. Make shaky. Bend the knees and concentrate on the feet. Push the feet into the ground, drop the sacrum and listen out to its spine. Try to sense, same as the foot, the change on the muscles around each vertebra as they are about to straighten. To the back of the neck and the top of the head. Turn the left foot with the waist. Push back and breathe in. Lie into the back foot. And then bend both legs, listening to the back with pressure. And then what we did last day, we push the foot into the ground, send the quad forward with the front knee. So use some intention. And you keep this one going for focus. And then you take off that power and let the center drop. About 1 fist forward, that's about what we look for. And then you reconnect to the ground. And you push into the ground. And you can do the step loosely. So when you push, you let the center rotate. And then the body flows very gently, body listens to the top of the head. And then you send the mind into it. Ensure the center keeps going back. And then take a long time to release and align the upper body. So you get a long flowing down into the ground. If you don't do anything, this will happen. So as you go down, you change the upper body in such a way that the foot pressure increases. And then you can use the tension of the hip joint and the knee. And if at that moment you hold the shoulders to slightly up down, then you should feel that the hip joint is pulling the chest forward. And that will transmit the power into the upper body. And then you keep doing that and then you reconnect. So from the front, you breathe in. So there's always as I was saying, you can refine the transition. The moments of change, there can always be a refinement. So as you change from pushing back to connecting into the back, that should be very smooth. And then as you switch from sitting back and down to sinking down and forward, that should be very smooth. And the switch from sinking down and forward to releasing the power out should be very smooth. The best way to do it is to overlap a little bit the faces. So you push and the waist moves, and as the body floats, you begin to go down into it. So the center begins to drop. So the sacrum connects up. And then the upper body begins to flow down. So the hip joint and the knee begin to go forward, and then the upper body goes forward. And then as the upper body, you keep releasing and aligning. So maybe you can pull the shoulders down. Then the quad moves forward some. So you're overlapping the releasing with the forward. And then as the forward movement continues on the upper body, you can drop the sacrum into the front. So that's one way to refine. It's not super easy, but that's the overlapping of it. Sit right back, listening to the left. You should pull out through the body, concentrate through the knee, the chest, the top of the head, and then down through the body into the pressure. Whatever changes through the body, with a deep breath, and then down. Listening to the back foot. Step across. And then turn the foot and the waist very smoothly while you're releasing the line down. So you get a good sense of the whole body resting to the back. And you increase it some more, but with any way you can manage. So, first level that I was explaining on the second routine would be that then you send the quad forward with and then the upper body falls. That's the first. Back through the body, into the back foot, and then bring it back to the waist. And then the second one is the quad and the knee go forward while the shoulders go down. So that keeps the rotation. And then the third one would be that as the dropping of the upper body makes the hip joint and then go forward. Until you connect with the front. For now, it's enough to pull back, pull up through the body, let the body float and concentrate towards the back foot. The center goes back. And then sink forward to the foot pressure increases and you release the line. So make the largest change you can on the spine. And then the quad and knee go forward. And you can strengthen that change by pulling the shoulders gently down. So you feel that the hip joint is pulling the chest forward. And then down into the front. So you go back. Just go through the body. Lift very gently this much. And then down to the floor. Listen for a big change in the side. Outside should be very small. Into the waist, and then the body lifts. So on this end is going to be the mind, and this is the body. So the mind goes into the waist, and then so the body is half the way when the mind is on top of the head. And then the mind goes down into the waist, and then the center responds. So this hand is the mind, and the body is responding. So you find the foot when the body is half the way, and then you bring the mind into the waist with the rising pressure. And then you can reset the whole system. So you can re-concentrate on the foot, and then pull the mind. So the exercise is explained in once. So practically, you begin, because you rose with the forces, and then you can change the idea of lifting. But the sinking of this one, so it's better to reset it probably. So you have to understand it on how to do it on in the second loosening, so you can reset it up. On just the lifting and sinking, you can reset the legs, you can bring the mind back. And then these are training ideas. The whole system only works when you're using the mind a full body ahead. But that's way too far. So my suggestion is that you begin with sending the mind into the ground and finding that produces a true response in the body. Either in the second or in the fifth. Either by keep the legs bending very gently and then you get the rotation, or when you go this way, you send the mind under, and then it produces that the body keeps sinking this way. And not only, when I mean sinking, it's just not the legs bending. It means the whole process of the quad, the knee, the foot pressure, and the releasing and aligning of the upper body. So that sending the mind under keeps this process going on. It affects mostly the leg, because the idea is like Patrick explains. It's like when you walk on snow, and you have some experience on that. When it's not hard, the effect of stepping into snow is like the level of the floor is moving down. So the mind adjusts to that until it feels enough support, because if it makes the wrong changes on the leg at the wrong moment, then that's when it works out. So you try to produce the same effect, but you don't have the snow, you have solid floor. So but still it's the mind doing the process, it's not the snow doing the process. It's the mind changing according to what the snow changes. So you try to produce that change. So make sure that that happens. When that happens, then you can bring the mind up into the waist to listen for the pressure, and then from there you can extend. On the second loosening, or on the lifting and sinking, which we'll do at the end, it only works when you're using the mind, a whole body ahead. Because then the mind goes into the top of the head, and then the forces rise, and then the body lifts. And while the body is moving, the mind moves. So when the body is here, the mind is on the foot. And when the body is fully down, the mind can extend to the top of the head or outside. So that's when it works, because then you're working on that. And then you don't have to reset, because the intention produces the activation of the forces. For this one, say the arm is swinging this way. So you need a small activation of the shoulder to make it lift high. But if the shoulder, the arm is loose and pulling forward, so swinging forward, then the pulling can produce this one. So you no need to look for this and then this one. Because if you wait towards the end, this one, then you'll get the body lifting here, and then you have to pull this way. So it's better to swing. It's not that there's definitely no lifting. So you can sing but not lifting. That's the idea. So actually in this one, the body is sinking while the arm is going up here. So the movement is this one. So if I do it sideways, I'm sinking here while this arm is going up here. So if I accentuate the movement, it's this one. And then you pull back up. So the centers are lifts and sinks, but on the third loosening, it's better not to concentrate on that. Definitely, if you're teaching beginners, it's better that they concentrate on the show, because otherwise they start doing something like this, or pushing out. So, but of course, there's no way that if you want to move the center from one leg to the other, it has to lift first. But definitely, you don't want to lift when the arm lifts. So this is sinking, and then pulling back. So at a certain point, Patrick was teaching the idea of, as long as this hand is going, so all this time, the body is sinking into the ground. Just to compensate for this one. But if you do that, Charlie, you see what happens then it's too much, then you're doing this one. I'm exaggerating. So the sinking is about this much. So, and it's more important on this one for quite some time to concentrate on the twist on the spine. Because there's too much concentration on the arms, that's what happens. I will push this way. So it's better to concentrate on the spine and let the arms quite a bit in the background. And occasionally you can try to refine them with the sense of pulling round this one. But if you don't get a good sense of the awareness of, because this is a twisting forces through the body. So what you want is that the waist changing first passes through each vertebra, pulls the shoulder and pulls the arm. So that's what we try to find on this one. A very subtle pull along the whole body. So if you just concentrate on the arms in any way, you've got deep breath to activate the upper body, and then release the line for as long as you can. So you concentrate into the right foot, and you try to keep sinking straight up until the left foot is fully empty, and then you step across. Bring it into the corner, from the right foot, connect lightly to the left, sink relatively into the knees. Push it fully to the ground, the knee, the quad activates, the lower back, then the chest, shoulders, elbows, wrists, hands, the thumbs is left. When you have to wake up the center, then relax the shoulders, sink the elbows, the wrists go down, and the hand go down. And then as the hands are arriving, turn the foot and listening to the right foot. Should pull up through the body, breathing deeply, listening to the back foot, and then bend the legs. And as the legs bend, try to release and align the upper body for as long as you can. So get a good sense of the whole body present. And then push the foot into the ground, send the quad and knee forward. And if you can, put the shoulders down a bit more. So that strengthens the connection down. So the chest can be pulled forward. And then let the hands expand. Turn to the core. Listening to the right foot. And then turn the foot very smoothly. And then sink down. And then put the shoulders down a bit more while you send the quad forward, so that strengthens the breathing to the core, gliding to the foot, and then step. As you come forward, take your time to release the line of the whole body. So put all your effort on letting go the tension, and then down. So at this stage, we wanted you to be sending the mind under the ground and forward as a way to breathe out. And then you project it towards the corner, the quad and knee should respond, and then the shoulders pull away. Breathing deeply, monitor is very gently to keep, and then concentrate towards the back. So you can send the mind under the ground, because you're looking for that response of taking strength. If you reach the position at this stage, then you can also try to breathe out some more and let the tension go out some more. So you put the mind to sleep a bit more. And then the quad and the knee. And of course, for this one, put the shoulders down. Keep the quad and the knee moving forward until the hands are connected to the front. And then breathing out through the body. Listen to the back foot. And then see down. And then pass the quad, the knee, with the shoulders down, and then the hands into the front foot and sit back. For our level, sit back away from the corner, from the heel and the torso. And then turn back. Don't move the hands, turn breathing deeply. Sink a little bit to step. Turn the foot in the waist slowly. And then especially for this one. Take your time to keep releasing the upper body. And send the quad and knee forward and put the shoulders down. And then let the hands expand. First movement, you should push the foot into the ground and make sure that the quad changes and the chest expands. So it begins on the foot, quad and the lower back, the chest and the shoulders, then the elbows, then the wrist, and the thumbs are the last thing to move. So they're still touching the body. When you're half the way up, you should take the strength of the legs, so the sacrum can go down. And then 2/3 of the way up, you take the strength of the shoulders. So the elbows lift a bit more, and then the elbows can go down. To still height of the shoulders. And then you let it drop this way. So you keep taking the strength of up this way. So the whole body keeps sinking very gently. Before the hands are fully down, you can connect to the right arm this way. And then you begin to push back. So you move away from this hand. Here. And then you connect lightly, so fully on the heel, and adjust the front foot. It goes on the heel, and then on the toe. But then you come forward. And at this stage, you try to release it. So there's different stages to do it this way. So one way is you find your body's in the strength of it more. So you feel the foot pressure increasing. That's one way. It's the most basic kind of if you forgot on that stage. I'll do the next ones. And then you send the quad and knee forward, still breathing out. And ideally put the shoulders gently down, so that strengthens the connection. And then you breathe into it. When you breathe in, don't lift too much. Just a small amount or something. And then sink a little bit. So you begin to connect into the foot. Turn the foot and the waist very smoothly. So this is the first one I was saying here. And then I take off the stretch on this way. And the whole body falls down. And you feel the increasing pressure. That's all. And then the quad and you go forward and the shoulders go down. And that pulls the chest forward. And brings the power into the hands and then the hands next. And then you connect into the left. Go down split. Body should lift very gently, but normally much less than people. And then sink a little bit, just to get the step going up. And then turn it smoothly. And at this stage, you begin to release the line. So you take a long time to release and align the upper body. So it's better to use the breathing out for that. And then the quad keeps turning. So if the shoulders keep going down, while the quad keeps bouncing and turning, that will bring power into the hands. So I'm just going to do this one a bit faster to show the. This is the one that normally people struggle with. So you activate breathing up to here, chest when you pass the corner, let's say, and then step across. And normally this is quite normal for this exercise. People come into position and forget. hands, and normally comes to the next one. So you have to take your time to release the line into position for every exercise, but I think this is the one that people test. So you get the long flowing into the ground, and then the one, the knee, the chest follows, and then the hands can expand. And then you can continue on. You know the sequence, so just breathing. So I'm just trying to refine, and the concentration should be from the top of the head into the right foot as you sink into it. You feel the foot pressure increasing. You can bring the mind into the waist, then into the left foot. You sink down and pressure on both feet. And then you can loosen through the knee, the quad, the chest. So remember, half the way up, the sacrum drops. Then 2/3 the shoulders, then the elbow, the wrist, and the hands. And now the whole body sinking. Then turn, concentrating to the back foot, with the hands and pull it down and turn. Pull out through the body, listening to the back foot. And then sink down and forward, take your time to release the line in the upper body. Send the quad forward and pull the shoulders down, concentrate on the hands, and let the hands expand. Listen to the foot, breathe in, turn to the corner. Sink it slightly to step. Sink the butts and turn very smoothly. So you breathe out and try to take the strength out of the body while you refine the alignment of the body. And you can strengthen that while you send the quad forward by pulling the shoulders down. And then breathe in, turn. Sink it slightly to step. Turn the foot very slowly as I'm doing. And keep along releasing the alignment. So you release the line until you're actually facing the other corner of the bar arch. So the process doesn't stop, but it overlaps. So begin to release the line here. And then you keep releasing the line in the upper body until the hands are expanded. And then you can drop it down into the front. Into the back foot. Without releasing the line. Still breathing out the palms forward, the shoulders go down, still breathing out the hands go forward, and then you drop into it. That's between the breathing and the breathing out. Breathe in, that's the activation, breathe out, relax and turn. Breathe in, keep sitting and turning to the left. Breathe out, down and turn. Breathe in, turn the waist full ahead. And then sink a little bit, breathe out, sink down and forward very smoothly. And make sure you take the strength out of the body, send the quad with the shoulder forward, with the shoulders down. Still breathing out, hands connecting to the front. Breathe in deeply, don't lift too much, just turn the waist over, the arms forward. Drop the sacrum, relax the shoulders, sink the elbow, and then the foot comes in. And in this one, pull the shoulders down a bit more, and try to expand through the fingertips, not or forward. The foot shifts very gently on the hip. Drop the hands, breathe in through. Until you face the forward. Then relax the shoulders, sink the elbow, bring the hand one fist from you. And then forward. So again, it's a long way sinking down. The body is facing 15 degrees left arm. So take your time to sink down. It's a difficult one because the hands are close to the body. So you want to relax and let it expand. And then turn. So this hand is sliding down. Then sink down into the foot. Until you have enough pressure to bring the left foot in. And put the shoulders down. And this one should be as if you're pushing the body down with the hands. So the waist can rotate and the neck can rotate. So you're pushing the whole body. So that's the sinking down into position. And then the quad and the hands expand. Then turn. So both arms float, but don't go this way. So it's very small. It's this one. And the arms are in this gentle curve. So it's float a bit more chubby, and then sink down. So it's about shoulder high, and then sink down very smoothly. So it's the same sinking as we was doing here, this one, same time. So it's not this one, or this and this, but it floats, and then it sinks. It's just it's in a different position, but it's this one. So you see it's very smooth, the foot comes in, and then you try to do this one. So this is one fist and one span, and the body is slightly sideways, 15 degrees. And then you try to drop some more, so still releasing. Rotate the waist and put the shoulders down to expand this way. So you get this expansion by the body sinking. And then drop the hands and to the pose once more this one. Passing, that's when the waist turns. Half the way, you can drop the center into the foot. And 2/3, the shoulder begins to go down. Then the elbow sinks. It should be 1 fist from you, that when the foot comes in. And then sink down and forward. Don't push forward. This you want to settle the whole body down into the ground. It's about there. So it's not fully straight. The position is easy. So if both wrists should be on the center line. Facing the quad, facing. And then for this one you need to, again, breathe out some more and sink some more. So you put the shoulders down, please take a step. Otherwise it will be here. So you want this one to happen here, while you send the quad forward. Just check it that you see something this way. And then when you pass the quad, this will expand the hands forward. Because it's a short movement, it's a complicated. And then you keep moving this way, and then turn the foot, and sink down into it while the hands go here. So that's the light activation if you want, and then the sinking into it. This way. And at this moment, you look for the rotation of the waist and the shoulders. It's one spread out, so you're pushing something up. Sit back, relax and turn into it. Breathe in, pull up through the body, shift the body flows first. Then into the right foot. Breathe in, waist turns well ahead. Yes. Left hand in front of the chest, sink a little bit to step. Keep breathing out. And remember, breathe out some more, send the quad with the shoulders down and concentrate on the hands. Listen to the left foot, for the waist turn, body floats very gently. Drop the sacrum first, and relax the shoulders and slowly sink into the center position. Stay to the back foot, of course. And then rotate the waist, put the shoulders down and concentrate on the hands. Drop the arms, and the left hand is passing the quad from the waist to the corner. Drop the sacrum, relax the shoulders, sink the elbow. This sequence, 1 fist from the other foot comes in. Sink down. So ensure the whole body is flowing down, and the quad then go forward. And then the shoulders go down, and then the hands expand. To the foot, breathe in to the corner, about here, and then sink down. This should be round, and then rotate the waist down. I repeat the movement of the shoulders, so it's right. Then turn left, right. That's breathing in about half the way. Drop and relax the shoulder. Sink the elbow, and bring the hand 1 fist from you. And then fix the position and take the strength some more while you send the one knee forward, put the shoulders down, concentrate on the hands. Go forward, turn. Two touches. The right hand goes sliding and pull out through the body, listening to the foot. Sink down. You can concentrate on the waist if you want. And then rotate the waistline. Put the shoulders down and concentrate on the hands. Turn. Slide it down. 1 fist from here. And then so this is the unsigned position still. So it needs this one. And then reach. So you're learning to recognize it outside. 1, 2, and this one. And then, okay. So just watch for this one, that's not confusing more. Because here, mostly the activation goes with this arm. So that's the breathing in, and that's the breathing out. So if you keep going up with this arm, then you get confused. Because this is making this circle, while the body is making this circle. So you can get the idea of the body going with this arm, if you want to. Or this arm goes with the body. So that's the breathing and the lifting, and then the releasing here. So this arm started to go down, while this one's still going up, as you can see. So that's the releasing, sinking, 1 fist of course, the whole body together. And then take the strength some more, and try to increase the releasing in the line. Because the earlier you begin, the better. And then you expand forward with the quad, the knee, and the shoulders down. And into the left foot. And then keep moving forward until you connect. That's when you turn and keep the head facing forward. Those are the common mistakes. Then the right hand goes to slide the hip down in the body. Both hands left. and then sink down. And for these moments, it's always the same. Center drops, and the shoulders, and the elbows, and the wrists, and the hands. And to bring the power through, you try to rotate the waist some more, and put the shoulders down. So you teach the independent movement of the quad, the shoulders, that moves. And later on, when the mind goes down, goes out, the body gradually will respond that way. That's what I was explaining. So you're breathing up to here, and then without sitting down forward. Brushing the inside 45 degrees. Sit back away from the right. Lift just slightly, and drop down. So you move forward, pass through the shoulders. And then release spiral. So it begins on the waist, shoulder high. That's the gentle curve again, just to the core. Listening to the right foot, and then drop the sacrum and begin to release the shoulders very slowly. So the right hand should sink normally slower than the middle does. So it reaches the quad the moment you reach the center. And I just take the position so you can see on the outside. It's just holding the position up. So you need this one. This one. This is not this. But it's taking off the strength, so the power is rising up to the body. Something needs to be found in the center. And then you send the quad knee forward and put the shoulders down, so the body doesn't push up. You keep that rotation. And you keep going forward and turn it slightly to the left, about 15, 20 degrees over there, and then down and up. Go from the foot to the top of the head, concentrating to the back. That's the moment to drop the sacrum, and then the shoulders begin to release. And then the elbows will sink as you come forward. And then take the strength some more, and put the shoulders down some more, and send the quad and knee forward. And that will bring the power into the hands. Sit back. Down to the left, toe, heel. And after the forward should be this one. The quad should change and the lower back should open. And the arms. Half the way, the center can drop, and the shoulders relax and the elbows sink. So get this position. If we continue on the second section, if we finish, then you keep sinking and the elbows come. So the left hand comes on top, this way. And then it slides around and forward. So now the shoulders arrive, now the elbows arrive, now the wrists arrive, and now the thumbs arrive as the foot. And when you turn, the left hand adjusts, and you shift on the toe. And then when you turn back, the right hand adjusts. And then just one, a line. And just very gently. So basically, the position of the leg, if you lose it completely and you lift it yourself, this way. So it's fully loose and then top. Then you shift on the heel, that's the position. So nor out, nor in, nor out, that's the position. Then for the play guitar, this is here. So the body is about 15 degrees to the side. This one is on the lowest tip of the breastbone, and this one is on the base of the throat. And this is one fist and one spine. Position here. And it's about, the camera is not giving it correctly, but let's say 45 degrees, so it's not vertical. So this one fist out from the middle of the front. So the palms are not flat, not vertical, just a small thing. It's like you have an arm in between the carpet for a moment. That's actually about this way. That's about the position. So it's not here, and it's not bottom. But it's just like adapting to the so it's kind of fully straight. So just slightly sideways, play the guitar is fully straight. And then it changes slightly. The left hand is about the same, so height of the throat and one span out. And a slightly diagonal. But the right hand, it's one fist, but the middle finger points into this bone on the elbow. So it looks something like this. That's the position, this way. It's kind of difficult to see, but it's something like this. So if I lift this one, touching there. So it's not this or here. It's pointing there. So you have to do something with the wrist, this one. It's like to learn how to have this position without tightening the whole thing. And the idea would be, it comes more from this idea where you're controlling the arm and pressing this way. So I'm controlling the hand, this one, and this one on the other. So that's has the control. It's like a traditional Qi Na from the Chinese tradition, but so it's kind of pointing my elbow, but it doesn't have to be exactly. And that's where you can rotate under this one, so the power passes through the body. So this looks like a position here, so it should be something like this. This is one span, but the body in this one is fully straight. That's the reference on the. Four is the timing between the center dropping, then shoulder dropping, then the other, then the wrist hand. And strongly recommend to check the positions at the end of the breathing in, and then at the end of the breathing out. Sorry, on the central position. So then, of course, you can add what you can do. But in terms of the position, that would be the way to define it. So you look for the position at the end of the breathing in, that's for the brushing in. And then there's an intermediate position when you step, that's 45, 1 fist from here. That's when the heel touches. And then the position on the center. For example, the left hand is brushing the thigh 45 degrees, so you don't push it behind. And this one is just slightly towards the center, so this one passes here. And then you can fold. And then you can fold this one position, but not so. And then. So breathe. That's the end of the breathing in, so both arms lifting to shoulder high in this gentle grip. And then releasing down. And that's the center position. And again, brush knee, for example. But I'll do the simple balance. So breathing, that's the end of the breathing in, up to shoulder high. And then you step. And then you begin to breathe out. Step. And that will be reaching the central position. So it's in front of the armpit. That's one span out. And then coming to one fist as you come forward. And then you punch straight forward towards the level of the heart. This one touching here, and then it can come. So, for everyone, that should be pull away. That's the end of the breathing in when the fingertips touch. And that's when you're connecting to the back and the hands open about this much. And then you sink down and forward by relaxing the shoulders for the whole body. Fingertips shoulder high, and then it's again pointing slightly towards the center. And then this one, that's the breathing in, so that's the intermediate one. Sorry, that's the end of the breathing in. And then this one. Principle, align with the legs. The end of the breathing in, level, pointing but not touching. Corner, step, center position, front. This one, bottom of the heart. This one fist up, pointing the wrist but not touching. And this one again is just like if it's sitting into something. So it's not this, not this, but it's just like sitting flat into something this way. Not this one, and not this one. So it's a fully sinking. And then the sun, and this is the end of the issuing if you want. Let's sit back. So that's the intermediate position for this one. So go back. Then you begin to breathe in, and you breathe in, and then you go down into the foot. And then you get this one from here. And then one fist from here, the palms are facing. The wrist should cross this way as you reach the center, and then the left hand comes inside and stays inside. That's the final position. Top to the base of the throat, and then again you sit up until the hands separate, sit forward, and then the So that will be breathing in, and then breathe out into the left foot. Passing this, you breathe in and you go back and keep turning left, and the arms float very gently, and then you breathe out. Okay. So feel into the palms here. And then turn, slide until you pass the core, into the chest, sink a little bit. If you want to find a side position, that's 4 fingers on this line. Fingertips shoulder high, and this is straightforward. So for the brush knee, it will be slightly inside. For the dampier, this is straightforward because we're coming from this line. That's why it's a long sinking here, because the hand is coming this way, and it has to be catched this way, to send it down. It's from the brush knee, so when she's pushing into the arm this way, so she pushes it, I don't know. So you step aside and turn this one. Push down, just push it forward. This one. So here, here, and here. So I go around this point, and my right hand is going towards her face, up and down. And then you sink down and come forward. So the whole body, and then you send the quad, and then you hold while the shoulders go down. From this angle. So it's from this position, she comes this way. So I'm going to take this one here, and I'm going to circle around here and here. I'm going towards the faces, so I get a small reaction. While I do that, I'll step a little bit. And then I sink down. And then the quad and the knee. Put some intention this way so you get some response on this arm. And the shoulder should go down to bring the power. That's from the quad and the shoulder. And the right move. Just go to the face, but don't push in the face. It's just to produce a reaction, so she's pushing it against this one. And then you sink down and forward with the shoulders down. So it's from this movement here. It's just that it's done on this way, much smaller. So it goes around the point of contact. So for this hand, which moves through, you go around this point, here, here, here. I would get some control of this one. The other one is just the one that goes very gently and connects the person into the ground while this one comes. And of course, you step at the same time. So there's a very smooth transition into the floor. I'll do it with a bit more space. And the smoother the transition from one to the other, the more power we get. So if I go here, 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 you can still develop power, but it will be, as you see, not so good. The smoother the transition, doesn't have to be fast, the more power you will. So if you go into position here, 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 you can still develop some power, but it's going to be very rough. The smoother the transition from one to the other, it sets out the waves of power passing through the body. So that's what I meant by you take a technical idea, like putting the shoulders down while the quad comes forward. You maybe do it a bit roughly, but slowly try to refine every time you do the movement. So you don't get this, but you slowly try to refine it. And then when you try to put it all together, then it's just the intention to do something and produce that will produce something that will be something very smooth. Let's say once you're very tight, you have this one and you sink. Then you're sending some intention on this end and you listen for the response on the part. So you can see how we just begin from the zero. So you bend the legs and concentrate on the feet. And push the feet into the ground and breathe in through the body. So breathe in a long way to the top of the head. And then breathe out and listen for the muscles releasing. So you truly let the face go. You can close the eyes through the chest the lower back, thighs, the knees, and the feet. Just keeping to the ground, you can listen through the knees, the hip joints, the chest as it expands, the top of the head. And then breathe out and listen for the body releasing for the long way. So you let the face release the shoulders, the chest, the lower back, the legs into the foot. Push the feet into the ground. So the knee, the quad should open and the lower back. Big expansion on the chest and the top of the head. And then breathe out and let the body flow down the long way. Concentrate on the releasing chest out. The face, the chest, lower back, through the legs into the foot pressure. And do one step, pull up through the body, so loosen through the knees, the quad, lower back, the chest, the top of the head. And then as you release, you make sure you align the body. So the lower back should open a bit more. Then you open the chest, and you adjust the back of the neck. And then you listen for the legs bending and the foot pressure increasing. So you push the foot into the ground, and you listen to the knee, the quad, the chest, the top of the head. And then you begin to release, and then you align. So the lower back, the chest, and the back of the neck are opening, where you release it through the neck, the chest, the waist, the knee, and the foot pressure. This is slightly different what you're doing from what you're listening for. So if you want to refine the alignment, move up through the legs, so you're listening to the joints changing. And then as you release, you have the joints changing on the spine. So the sacrum drops, the lower back opens, the chest, the back of the neck. Still releasing, of course, and then you feel the legs bending and the foot pressing into the ground. And then you can pull the mind into the knees, and then let the body lift, so we move another level. You pull the mind a bit further towards the top of the head, so you let the body float, and then you let the mind fall down, passing through the chest or maybe in the waist. You let the sacrum go down, and then the whole body is releasing and aligning. You reach the foot and you send the mind under the ground, in such a way that the whole body keeps flowing down. The waist may rotate slightly, and you feel the foot pressure increasing. Don't let the body stop. That should be the effect of it. And you pull the mind back into the knees, and then let the body respond. Up, passes through the head and a bit more, and then you let the body float as the mind falls. As you withdraw the intention to it, and then let the body fall. And as it falls, the mind goes in. So you still see the releasing and aligning, but the mind goes into the foot and down into the ground. That lengthens the stretching of the legs. Let the waist rotate. Keep the upper body straight, releasing and aligning. So you pull the mind from under the ground into the knees, and then let the body lift to the top of the head and a bit more. You take off that intention out and let the body float, and then fall as the mind passes the sacrum into the foot, into the ground. Let the waist rotate under, and keep releasing the line, listening to the foot pressure increase. And then you can do once more. Just do it exactly like this. So you can drop the sacrum a little bit and pull the mind into the waist and let it bow. And then pulling out through the body while the body responds. Take the intention out, off, and then send the mind into it. Keep joint, and then let the body fall as the mind goes into the foot, so it finds the first connection. And then bring the mind slowly back into the waist with the rising pressure. And as the upper body keeps sinking, you let the waist rotate, the shoulders can go down, and you concentrate on the waist pressure, some sense of fullness pressure on the waist. You drop, you release, just take off any activation from the legs. Pull the mind strongly from the foot into the waist, and then let the body lift, while opens to the top of the head. The body floats and the mind goes down, so the body begins to release the line. The sacrum drops, the mind goes into the foot, light foot pressure. The mind slowly rises as the other body keeps sinking. So by the time the mind is rising on the waist, you let the waist rotate some more. And the shoulders go down, so that increases the pressure. And then release whatever's on the legs. Pull the mind strongly up again into the knee, into the waist, and then let the body lift to the top of the head. While the body floats, the arm goes down into the foot. Sorry, to the waist, and then let the body fall. Mind goes into the foot. Your mind rises slowly back into this. And the sacrum could be still dropping down by being pulled because of the connection through the spine by the shoulders now. And then we shift to the next level. So you concentrating to a cloud of light under the ground. You breathe in and pull the light with a strong intention to feel the legs, feel the chest to the top of the head. And breathe out and then let it fall. Let the body fall. Concentrate like on the sense of light as it's falling around or expanding outside, whatever you prefer. It's a big sense of the light spreading out and the body falling on the background of this sensation. Concentrate on the feet, under the feet on the cloud of light. Pull it with a strong intention so the light begins to fill the body and the body lifts to the top of the head. And then breathe out and let it expand through the full around like up in all directions, out in all directions. And you mostly concentrate on that sense of light moving around and the body releasing, aligning, pressing down onto the background. And pull strongly out from the light under the feet the third time. The body responds. Breathe out and let it flow all the way down. So you mostly concentrate on the sense of light. While the body is in the background but still responding, so letting go. It responds on whatever you do with the light. The body in the background is still releasing light and generating pressure across the muscles. And you can straighten the legs. And take all of the whole sphere around the body. And then condense it as you breathe in a few centimeters towards the chest. And then breathe out and let it expand. Breathe in, condense. And breathe out and let it expand. So breathe in, condense a few centimeters, 2 inches, 4 inches. And then breathe out and let it expand. This time you condense, you listen for the effect in and around the chest. And then you expand. And then you can rest for a moment to the sense of the cloud of light that surrounds the body. As many sensations inside the body as you can find as we do meditation. Have a good day or a good night. I'll have a good day, hopefully. And see you soon.